Hi, I'm Matthew Khouzam, and I have the privilege of being paid by Ericsson to make the world a better place through open source. Today, I would like to talk about one of the struggles that we have internally with OpenVSX. The slideshow is called Deploying OpenVSX in a Corporate-Friendly Manner. Now, if you want to know the answer, we're almost there. OpenVSX is almost ready to shine. Let's get there. So first off, I want to talk about who this talk is aimed at. Then I'll present myself. Who am I? What is Ericsson? What is OpenVSX, the product we're talking about? What is it? What is the status of OpenVSX right now? Then I would like to talk about what is the desired position of OpenVSX within the frame of a corporation, a large corporation. Finally, I'm going to take the difference between the last two slides and say what's missing. And I want to talk about how we can get to that destination. Let's start. Now, some people see the title and they're going to think that this is aimed at management. The thing is, they already know everything I'm about to say. This is really aimed at developers and new developers at that. I want developers to understand why large companies take certain decisions and how reality changes when instead of 3 people in a garage, it's 40,000 people in a multinational setting. And who am I? Well, I've already said I'm an Ericsson employee. I'm also a very big open source enthusiast. It might surprise some of you, I'm a great big nerd too. I'm the product owner at Ericsson for OpenVSX, Eclipse Theia, Eclipse Trace Compass, LTTNG, and a few other products. And this is very important. I'm not a lawyer, I'm not a doctor, I'm not a financial advisor. Basically, any advice I give right now is just advice. What is Ericsson? Ericsson is an information and communication technology company. We have roughly 100,000 employees. We have roughly 40,000 developers, and we make several telecommunication technologies, including 5G. If you want the real information about Ericsson, you can check out www.ericsson.com. It's a lot better presentation than what I'm giving right now. What is OpenVSX? Well, OpenVSX is an Eclipse project, and the line on their white paper is the OpenVSX registry is a vendor-neutral open space marketplace for VS Code extensions. What does that mean? It means that it is a marketplace, so somewhere like an app store for your iPhone, where you can download extensions that are compatible with VS Code. Now, Theia is compatible with VS Code extensions, so is VS Codium. Theia uses OpenVSX to be able to easily install VS Code extensions, and so does VS Codium. The VS Code marketplace, to the best of my knowledge, does not allow for third-party clients, such as VS Codium or Theia, to be able to download extensions from it. So this is the open source alternative allowing us to benefit from that large community from VS Code. So what is the status of OpenVSX? It's functionally equivalent to VS Code's marketplace for all intents and purposes that I've seen. As of today, I've measured 1,700 extensions available. License-wise, Theia is allowed to use this. It also has some nice features that are not in the VS Code marketplace, namely some proxy-like features or mirroring features that would allow us to be able to go from an internal OpenVSX to an external one, and therefore, if your extension is not available internally, you can look for it elsewhere. So how do we want to use OpenVSX at Ericsson? This is the very important question. We want to be able to curate and make available a specific set of extensions based on certain criteria. Now, we need to make sure that our extensions are secure. One very important thing, if we don't want to have backdoors in our code, because the IP of a large corporation is normally much, much more expensive than that of a small corporation. So having a single leaker leak all of your source code is problematic. We want to be license compliant. What does that mean? Basically, if we ship any software with any license, we are obeying that license. And it might seem trivial, but let's say you go with someone opens up a license with "Don't be evil" or "Buy me a beer." They seem easy. What happens if the person decides to move to Mars? Then "Buy me a beer" might cost a few $billion to get done. We also want to be trade compliant, which means that we need to make sure that we have no encryption keys or any of that good stuff in our code. Or if we do, that it's declared. We also have another very important criteria. Now, we are contributing everything that makes sense to open source. We do have internal plugins. These internal plugins need to be made available to our developers too. And OpenVSX needs to have that available. We want to make it easier for developers to be able to work better. Now, consider that we have 40,000 employees or 40,000 developers, right? And if I save 1 minute for every developer in the company, we've saved almost 700 hours globally. So now, with that logic that making the process better by 1 fraction will scale to these massive savings, you can understand, if you apply hourly salaries, why large corporations need to have all of these extras already built in. It might be easy for a small group where it's like, oh, we can check everything manually, but here it needs to be automated. So now, what is missing? We definitely need to register internal plugins to the internal OpenVSX without going to the web. So basically, if I have my own internal plugin, I don't know, let's call it the Matthew plugin. I want to be able to register it internally, but not have any of the information of it, like the ID, leak to the web. So we cannot have the proxy go for that. And we need to be able to register it only and then terminate this query once we get to it. We need to be able to pull specific versions from the web and pin them after performing security scans on the code. Now, I'm going to go back 2 slides. If you look at the diagram on the right-hand side, you will see that we have a way of working. We want our Theia client to be able to query the OpenVSX registry that's internal. And if it finds something, it returns it. And if not, it will have a job go to the OpenVSX registry in the web, and then automatically perform a security scan, perform compliance checks and all that before storing the data, the extension and the source code in a certified archive. And then it'll be made available to the person. So going back, we need to be able to pin versions. Why? Because let's say you have your version, your plugin, and we are calling it the Matthew plugin again. Now version 0.5 works. Version 0.6 adds a new feature that's really cool, but it also has a huge security flaw. We don't want to accidentally have people pull in version 0.6 until we have a mitigation for that security flaw. So we need to be able to lock at certain versions. Another thing that's very important, we need to have user access and authorization working within OpenVSX. Now, when you have 40,000 developers, you probably have many developers working on different projects with different workflows. If we can show the Python plugins on the top for those that develop in Python, the Java on top for those that develop Java, the C on top for those that develop C, you basically are saving a few minutes for every developer. And once again, a few minutes for every developer translates to almost a year of salary. We need to be able to scale it more to meet our demand. Now, this means that right now, having 1 instance internally works. In the future, maybe we'll need 2, 3, 4, Maybe we'll need a load balancer to be able to have all of these able to just service a certain region. We need to figure this out. But basically, the important thing is that we are a large corporation and we're shipping software and we're pulling in software. We need to understand what our software is. We can't just worry about it later, because worrying about it later is a very dangerous thing. We need to, when we ship it to a customer, we need to be able to say with 100% certitude what it is, because we are selling a product to a customer. They need to know what they are getting. So how can we get there? A lot of the features that I described could be handled via proxies or caches, for example, the replication. We don't need to modify OpenVSX for that. However, we do, once we solve this problem, want to share the recipe on how to solve it with others. We want to make sure that this is a good open ecosystem and a collaborative one. In OpenVSX, we need to add user access. So that means with my signing in, I can be granted authorization. So my name, Matthew, my password, 1234. I get back that I'm allowed or not allowed to access internal components. Then user authorization. Well, I'm in the Java group. Maybe I don't need the Python limiters. So we want to be able to cloister off parts that are going to be useless. We need to clamp our version numbers. We perform security audits on certain versions. We want to make sure that these versions are the ones that are available. We want the ability to force push. This is the obverse of clamping version numbers. What happens if once you're at 0.5, there's a huge new vulnerability that's available? Well, you want to be able to massively force an update on all the clients when they log in so that they know that their IDEs are safe, that their editors are safe. We don't want it to be the responsibility of the 40,000 users when we can make it the responsibility of one program. And last but certainly not least, we need to be able to register internal extensions. Now, these extensions are going to be useful for pretty much anyone that has a bit of secret sauce in their company. How can we get there? I'm opening up. This is our strategy. We want to get there, and we have a certain amount of labor that can help. However, if anyone else has a similar strategy and they want to get there faster, let's work together. We can get there faster and we can split the cost. It would be good for everyone. How can you contact me or us about this? Honestly, I would like it to be through the team. So if we can go through the Ericsson Cloud Dev Tools Slack, that would be ideal. You know, we could chat in the comments down below. I am watching it right now, and I will be answering any questions as they come. If you want to contact me personally, which I recommend a little less, you can reach me through my Ericsson email, matthew.khouzam@ericsson.com. And if you just feel like sending me a meme, there's always Twitter. Thank you very much. Are there any questions? Hi, everyone. So I don't see any questions coming in yet. I'm not in the direct chat, but I'm in the StreamYard. Oh, excellent. First question. A developer needs an extension that is not in their wanted OpenVSX registry. How to proceed so that needs get met in a timely way? So maybe in the same day. Well, for this, we absolutely need to automate our security scans. We need to automate our license scans, and we need to automate our compliance scans. This is not impossible. As far as I know, it is not yet done anywhere, but we are going in that direction, and we have certain parts that are already automated. So basically, you make your request, And ideally, the security scan would not be very long because it does a dependency analysis. The license scan, once again, there are many open tools like Clearly Defined that can help. And, encryption scan, that one is a little more complicated. I don't know any tools right now, so I'll have to get back to you on that one. But I would assume that if we grep SSL and nothing's there, that the actual proper security scans are going to be pretty fast also. What I'm saying is that it's entirely possible for a developer to get the extension that they need in a very reasonable amount of time if we automate everything. We do not want some person stuck in a basement running these tasks manually. That would be just overkill, and honestly, it would not be stimulating work for that person. Question number 2. Oh, we have lots of questions coming in. Can this solution be 100% open source? Well, OpenVSX is open source. Let's exclude the plugins which are special sauce. Instead, we have, but the security scan, there are many that are available right now. I'm off the top of my head, they are not open source, but they are compatible with open source software. Would be like Black Duck. And if they are open source, please tell me in the chat. I think that it's proprietary, but that it does work with open source. And there's a lot of these security scanners like that. But we do have Dependabot, which is, as far as I know, open source and based on the GitHub advisories. Then so we have our security scan done. Dash licenses works for licenses, and Clearly Defined works for licenses. We have licenses covered. Then for the other scanner, what would we need for encryption? Honestly, I don't know. This would be something to research. But I think that this one can also be done. In terms of storing in a certified archive, as long as you trust your internal storage, you're fine. I mean, there's some really good technology out there in storage for that's open source. And if you don't want open source, there's some really good artifact management software that is proprietary. And you saw that the way that I defined running it would have been through Jenkins, which once again is open source. We can have a completely libre chain. I hope that answered the question. I will move on to the next one. Can an organization get usage statistics about which extensions get used by which groups? Well, this goes very much with user access and user control. If we have user logging with that, we can know who uses what. And this is not a question of privacy because this is on a professional context and it is not the person, it is the user. The advantage of this is that you can tell that, for example, one plugin, I'm going to just pick, I was picking on Python, so I'm going to say Python's the most popular. So your PyLint plugin, it gets 10,000 users, and your, let's say your TypeScript plugin gets 3 users. You can pay more attention to the PyLint one. So yeah, there are major advantages to be able to log access, and also OpenVSX supports rating, just like the VS Code Marketplace. I definitely hope that we can leverage that, not in the sense of making it a popularity contest, but if we get lots of 1 stars, we can actually find out who 1-starred it and why. And if you have lots of 5 stars, lots of 1 stars, probably the 5-star people are using the plugin in a very different way than the 1-star people. And we need to know why the 1-star people are stuck like that, because no one wants to pay someone to be stuck. Can an organization get... Oh, sorry, that one was already done. What tools do I use for security scans? Well, I can say that in open source, we use Dependabot a lot, and we like it. And we also use SonarQube because Dependabot is really good at finding out if you have problems with your dependencies, right? But not with your code. Like, I could write garbage, and Dependabot won't care. It looks at dependencies. SonarQube is actually quite good for finding issues in our own code. But you know what's even better? Good reviews. And honestly, every project I work with has an excellent review a review community and review attitude, where we basically make sure that it's good before we merge. We didn't just say LGTM go. In fact, I'm probably the one that's the closest to that cowboy attitude in the groups. Finally, could organizations add special instructions for how to use extensions in the context of their organizations? Okay, I'm going to go to I'm going to actually open up the chat and try to see if I can find Clark, would you be able to send me more precisions on number 5? Could organizations add special instructions for how to use extensions in the context of their organization? What I think is being asked, there is, for example, could Ericsson add an extra security step? Absolutely. These are configurable pipelines that were defined with Jenkins. We don't even need Jenkins. We need a recipe. We need to have a common recipe, I hope, for how to get things done. But we need to modify OpenVSX in a way that it can handle being different from the source OpenVSX. That is the main point. So that question was from a good colleague, and I will be able to answer him one-on-one also. But if there's anyone else that has a question on that, I will definitely try to help. I would love to. If I can refund 8 minutes to everyone's time, I'm thrilled. Okay, a feature request then for custom metadata showing text or scan results in the UI. I looked at the database for OpenVSX. I think that there is a place to put it already there, but I don't know if it's populated. If it's not populated, it should be populated. I don't think the UI shows it, but I think that the data is already there. So that might be one of those things where we're halfway there. Well, I would like to thank everyone for the attention, and well, thanks to everyone for the opportunity. I hope to be able to collaborate with some of you on this. Bye.